Good afternoon, everybody. David Shuster here on our third hour of this, the February 16th edition of our show, Take Action News on We Act Radio. So glad to have everybody with us this afternoon. We're going to be joined by Alan Rosenblatt and a very special guest in our social media segment coming up. But this is the show we like to tell you what's going on in the world of politics and government and your world and what you can do to influence outcomes. And one of the more interesting stories that has been out there are a lot of people who have been pressing on our government to say a little bit more about what it knows about UFOs. And I realize people might think, oh, great, Schuster's about to talk about UFOs. Here we go. And the fact of the matter is there's actually a pretty serious movement out there from people who want the Air Force and various levels of our government to do a little bit more research and to take some of this stuff more seriously. And the latest example about why people are so concerned, latest example, this comes from Massachusetts in early January, January the 8th. Residents of Amherst and Pelham, Massachusetts reported a low-flying, unidentified, triangular or diamond-shaped object moving slowly and silently through the sky between about 5:45 in the evening and 6:30 in the evening. An FAA spokesman said that the only aircraft that was operating in the area was a military aircraft that was doing practice approaches. Okay, well, that seems reasonable, right? Except that the type of aircraft that the Air Force said was doing these practice approaches was a Air Force C-5 cargo plane. Now, an Air Force C-5 cargo plane is one of the largest planes in the world, and you cannot miss it. It's also one of the loudest. So, of course, when the residents of Massachusetts, they heard this excuse from the Air Force, they were like, oh, come on. There's no way what they saw, there's no possible way that the thing that they saw flying in the sky on that January 8th could have been an Air Force transport cargo plane. So then the question is, okay, was there anything else? Were there any sort of test planes or special planes that the aircraft sometimes flies around? And of course, Air Force, sometimes they won't talk about it. In this particular case, they said no. The only aircraft that was in the area was a C-5 cargo plane. And oh, by the way, Bradley International Airport in Connecticut, which is responsible for radar reports covering this part of Massachusetts, they said that they found nothing unusual in the radar as far as activity over the Amherst area during the time when the UFO was seen. So, look, I mean, folks, you can say, why is Take Action News dealing with this? Why are you talking about UFOs? The fact of the matter is there are a lot of people out there who see things, and you see these, and you get these reports, I'd say every 3 or 4 weeks, there's some kind of sighting somewhere around the world that doesn't have a very easy explanation. Or maybe it does have an explanation and it's a little more complicated. And the fact of the matter is that our government has not done the most effective job of being transparent about what information it collects. Most people who are searching for information about UFOs, they don't want the government to say, oh, yes, UFOs exist, or they don't want the government to, make a definitive statement. But what they would like is would like the government to open its files about, okay, what was reported to the government? Even if there are things that can't be explained, even if there's information that's out there, just tell us what the government has been told about, either by local police or sheriffs or even the military. That's what people are asking for. And there is a pretty strong move afoot now by folks who are concerned about these issues and believe in government transparency, who are demanding that the Obama administration, the Pentagon, the various branches of the military be a little more transparent about these incidents, even if they can't be explained. And I think that's something we should all be able to agree upon. That our government, even if our government doesn't know something, it should say, hey, we don't know what was going on over Western Massachusetts. This is the kind of plane we were flying in some sort of practice runs, a C-5. If you don't think it was a C-5, then okay. But this is all we can tell you. And a little more honesty from our government, I think, might go a long way as far as cutting down on some of the wacky conspiracy theories that don't do us any good. And people are going to say, oh, my God, David Shuster, you believe in UFOs? I think there's some things that our society, humanity, just aren't ready to understand yet or comprehend. And do I think that there are little green men from Mars who are living in the sewers beneath New York? No, of course not. But that doesn't mean that there might be some sort of life or some sort of a level of life or existence that we cannot quite comprehend, who maybe, I don't know, paying attention to some sort of Earth. And the fact of the matter is there are, with all the billions, hundreds of billions of planets and stars around the galaxy, the odds are that there's another one that is hospitable for the kind of life that we have on Earth. And we might as well embrace that and look forward to it as an opportunity if, in fact, we ever do have a real sort of verifiable contact with somebody who is not from this planet. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to come up and I can just hear the snickering out there, but fine, snicker at me all you like. call me a UFO nutcase. That's fine. But, folks, it's all about transparency. Our government has an obligation to all of us that even if it can't explain things, at least respond and be more transparent to us and say, hey, we don't know. We can't explain what was going on over the western skies of Massachusetts.